This is really a crass message. Research teams around the world are discovering more and more new giant viruses that are on the verge of life. Normally, viruses depend on a host to exist, so they have to capture foreign cells in order to multiply. But these mysterious giant viruses are not only as big as bacteria, their genome surprisingly also contains the construction instruction for protein biosynthesis. The giant virus lacks only one small thing to reproduce like a real living being. Welcome to Click Some Science and Fiction. Check out our fascinating science videos 3 times a week, subscribe to the channel and don't miss a thing.
1, 2, 3.
They are simply huge. Their body is 450 nanometers long on average, and it also has a 550 nanometer long and 450 nanometer thick tail hanging from it. And that makes them the largest known virus particles of all. We are talking about the so-called Tupin viruses. A research team from France had taken samples from an alkaline salt lake in Brazil and also from the deep sea of the Brazilian Atlantic coast and tracked down these giant viruses. They had infested amoebae that served as their hosts. The analysis under the electron microscope then revealed their enormous size and the longest tail ever described in a virus, said one of the participating researchers, Jonatas Abrahão. Some viruses even reached a length of 2.3 micrometers. But not only that, the really extraordinary thing about this type of virus is its genome. This is because it contains the construction instructions for the entire protein biosynthesis process. And this is really a novelty in biology. An organism is only considered a living being if it is able to reproduce itself. In concrete terms, this happens through protein biosynthesis, in which, to put it simply, new proteins are formed in cells. Until now, it was clear that higher organisms, but also fungi and bacteria, were able to do this. Viruses, on the other hand, need host cells in order to multiply. They do not have the gene or the equipment to produce proteins on their own. And so viruses are not considered to be real living beings, so far. But this assumption may soon be completely outdated. Research teams have discovered several new viruses in recent years that do not adhere to this scheme. These include, for example, the giant viruses called megavirus, clostridium or panoravirus. They are all the same size as bacteria and their genome is equipped with many more genes than have been known from viruses to date. In concrete terms, the DNA of the Tupin viruses contains up to 1.5 million base pairs and up to 1,422 genes that encode proteins. This makes it the 4th largest genome of a virus known today. They contain the construction instructions for enzymes that can build all 20 amino acids and up to 70 transport ANAs. These are all indispensable factors for the processes of protein biosynthesis and thus its independent proliferation. And all this is also a big surprise for the research teams, because when all this is added together, they are very similar to real cellular organisms. There is only one thing missing, and that is the so-called ribosomes. These cellular structures drive protein biosynthesis and act as catalysts. The scientists are faced with a great mystery. How exactly did these hermaphrodites develop from viruses and bacteria? They may have evolved from normal viruses, but over time they have taken over heirlooms from their hosts. Another possibility would be that their predecessors were cellular, but then reduced their inner life again. The last version seems more likely, at least for the Tupin viruses. In order to optimally exist as a cell parasite, it might have been important to reduce one's own cell equipment to a minimum. For example, larger organisms might have cut off parts of the protein biosynthesis and energy supply. In any case, 30% of the Tupin virus genome is still unexplored. So, further surprises are to be expected. What is a virus? How do viruses work? Click here for this video and the answer. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss a new video. Stay tuned and see you soon.